Welcome back to Her Health Code. I'm Jess.
And I'm Michelle. And today we're going to talk about all things perimenopause and menopause. We're going to get started with this discussion. And the way we're going to do it, we're just going to tell our experiences. So, Jess, why don't we get started with you? Jess is a few years younger than me, and we're in a little bit of different stage. So, we thought we'd give you a couple different perspectives. Jess, go ahead and let's start with you with your story.
I remember when I first had my first memorable menopause moment was hot flashes.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that to me signaled, uh oh, what's happening? And I started getting online and, looking at why I'm having hot flashes. And then shortly after I had missed a period, which had never happened before. At this time, it was 2.5 years ago. So I'm now 48, just turned. So I guess I was, 46 and it was just new to me. And I didn't know anybody else who had been going through it. So for me, I felt all alone. And I felt like, who am I going to talk to? And so, of course, you and I are very close, and I felt comfortable. And I knew you're a couple of years older. So I'm like, well, maybe she's had some symptoms too, but you're still under 50. So I was not sure and very nervous, feeling super anxious about bringing it up with anyone, but I always feel safe
hmm
with you. And we talk about all of our health stuff anyways. So I kind of remember like easing into the conversation with you, like, so, you
Yes, I
know,
remember.
yeah, like, have you had any of these symptoms like hot flashes yet? And, so that was my first real aha moment coming into this whole phase of life. But it felt very, like the rug had been pulled out from under me because I felt like I'm too young for this. Maybe I was 45 and a half. Yeah, that's what it was. 45 and a half. Yeah, I just felt like, wow, this is coming at me way too soon. I always assumed it was in your early 50s. And so when I talked to you and you confirmed, yes,
It's
this
happening.
is happening. It definitely helped to have that person to relate to. It was still a lot to process because I wasn't ready for it. Wasn't prepared at all.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot. And for me, I want to know everything about everything that there is to know. And how do I get rid of this? So, of course, I dove into a book about eating for menopause, and you had the same book.
Yep, and I had the same book, and because we're both health coaches, we wanted to kind of be that health detective for each other and for ourselves, and so we
Mhm.
kind of did a deep dive in all things perimenopause and menopause and really, like, learned a lot from our research and learned a lot from each other and each other's experiences and kinda troubleshooted some different supplements, activities, foods, I mean, et cetera, et cetera.
Everything. Yeah, because there's so much available. And so I feel like we both did. We both were going down that rabbit hole and trying all the things, and some of it worked. I mean, honestly, for me, changing some of the things in my diet definitely helped with the symptoms. That book kind of laid out how to eat certain foods for certain symptoms that you're
Mhm.
experiencing. And I remember getting on the bandwagon with that right away and having my hot flashes improve a lot. And then after a couple of missed periods, it came back and I was feeling like I was back online again, except for my mood.
Well, what would you say that you found that you changed that really had made a difference for you on a natural level, like with your
The
foods?
foods.
And
Yeah.
which foods did you say would you say that
Added
really
tofu into
okay,
my diet. I
okay,
started eating more tofu because I was, I think just a lot of people had made tofu sort of an enemy. Oh, it
mhm,
has too much estrogenic effects. And so I kind
yeah,
of backed away from tofu, not even really with a full understanding of why, but it was just an easy food to kind of say no to and avoid, especially because if you're out and about, most tofu is not organic. And so then you're getting into the whole GMO situation
yeah,
and it's just easier to avoid. But I learned more about soy and how it actually has benefits and
yeah,
can help you improve your estrogen levels. And I think that that's what helped because that's what's happening, in our bodies. The estrogen levels are dropping. And so if you
mhm,
can kind of support that with some outside sources,
yeah,
such
absolutely,
as that, and then cruciferous vegetables, I
mhm,
added more of those to my diet, more regularly,
mhm,
like eating more broccoli and more Brussels sprouts and cauliflower and just making I did a weekly, coleslaw that I would make, and
Mhm.
just that was an easy way to get it in,
Yeah,
and
that's an easy way.
did you ever notice any differences? I know you have
From
tried
food.
playing around with that those recipes too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I definitely indulged in changing my diet and incorporating a lot more food. So for me, I've been on the tofu bandwagon for a long time. In fact, I was vegan for quite a many years, and I wouldn't consider myself vegan anymore. I consider myself more of a mindful eater where I listen to my body and what it needs. And so I do eat eggs and fish, and occasionally I eat a little beef or chicken, and basically just honoring what my gut and my body is calling for. But I do believe that eating a large amount of tofu, and I actually drink soy milk sometimes, and because it's literally just soybeans and water,
Mhm.
and I do think that does make an impact. And the cruciferous vegetables I actually love, and I make broccoli and cauliflower and, and Brussels sprouts and all those things pretty much on a regular basis anyway. But being mindful of it was really good. And the other thing I've incorporated more for my heart health is I do beets. And so I'm
That's a new
usually
one.
kind of steam beets like once a week in my Instapot. It takes 8 minutes, and then I keep them in my freezer and just kind of use them in my blender. But beets, because our heart health is really important as we get to midlife. And so beets was another food that I've kind of pushed into my midlife nutrition.
Yeah, I feel like that's one we haven't talked about yet, so I'll have to try that as well. What do you put them into? Like, after you freeze them, you use
I
them
put them in a smoothie.
in
So
smoothies? Okay.
lately, what I do is I've been using my juicer and trying to get more nutrients. And so I juice a bunch of carrots for beta carotene and vitamin A for your skin. And I juice a bunch of celery, which is
Mhm,
also very good for your gut and your sodium levels. And so I juice those, put them in like my little silicone trays, and I freeze it.
mhm.
And then in the mornings, I just take out one of those, stick it in my blender with a frozen beet, and then, a little hot water and blend it together. And that's my smoothie.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
So you're getting like power nutrition without the cleanup every single day. So the reason I, in the past, kind of gotten away from juicing is because it's such a pain in the butt to clean up. But I love the nutritional punch that you get from juicing. And
Mhm.
so this is my new way of finding that I can get both. I don't have to do the cleanup every day, but I can still get that nutrition.
Right, just doing
And
it once a week.
once a week, stick it in those silicone trays, and
Mhm.
then it's like a wham bam quick smoothie in the morning.
That's good. I like that. We always talk about our nutrition hacks.
Yes, and they do always change, which I do think is
I
important
do.
because I think we are changing. And I do think, it comes back to gut diversity and how much our gut does like a more diverse diet. And constantly changing what you're eating is really important. And
To get, all the nutrients that our
getting all the
bodies need.
nutrients that our
Mhm.
bodies need. And
Yeah.
so it's good to be changing it up all the time and, more of listening to your body and not what marketing is telling you that you need. And so we have both found that that's the most important because right now we are bombarded by crazy ads and crazy marketing telling us all kinds of loony things like eating 130 grams of protein in one day,
Oh my gosh,
which
that is
I
the
know.
one that sent me over the edge. We
I
need to have an
know.
episode just
It's
about
so
protein
insane.
because that stressed me out beyond
Yeah,
belief, trying to
because
get my body weight in grams of protein when you're not eating, meat every day
yeah.
maybe. Like you and myself, we both kind of do a more balanced approach to meat eating, and, yeah, it was just way too stressful.
Yeah.
And once you do the research, we'll have an episode just about this
Yes.
because there is a lot going on out there right now about high protein diets, especially for
Yeah.
women in this time. And I feel like that's something that needs to be addressed. And a
Mhm.
lot of other topics that people are
Yeah.
talking about. And there's two different polar, somebody's saying this about protein and then
Yeah.
somebody's saying the opposite. So there's a lot of topics out there like that. And I feel like I got caught up in many of those things, as I'm sure you have over the years, the past few years as well. And one of them being HRT. And that's, also a
Mhm.
conversation that I think is part of this journey because you start thinking, like, okay, when do I do that?
Yeah.
It's
And
out
is it
there.
good? Is it
Is it?
bad?
Yeah.
And you really have to do a deep dive in the research. So let me just go ahead. I'll start since we are
Yeah, let's
diverting because we love talking all things
I
health.
know.
The
So
one
hard
thing
to
I want to
stick.
say before I tell my story with my perimenopause story is, that's part of the reason Jess and I became health coaches is because we want to help women navigate through all this marketing and clutter in for your brains and really tune into your bodies and listen to what your body needs when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to self care, when it comes to lifestyle changes. Like it really is possible for you to have the answers from tuning into your own body's needs. So I divert again, but so my story,
Yeah,
I'm fit.
because begins before I approached
Yes.
you about the topic,
Yeah,
right?
so I am 50 years old. I just turned 50 and I started my menopause journey. I would want to say about 7 years ago. I definitely was suffering for a long time before I even knew what was happening. For me, it started with, I didn't have hot flashes right away, I had night sweats, and so I would wake up like I had literally wet myself, like soaking wet, like drenched, like the bed was drenched, I was drenched, it was absolutely disgusting, and I couldn't go back to sleep because then, of course, my sleep started being disrupted as well, so I'd wake up, have to change out of my pajamas, change my sheets, and then I couldn't go back to sleep, and it was just I was a hot mess, so for me,
Literally.
literally, it was a hot mess. So I started with the night sweats, and occasionally I'd have a hot flash, but for me, it was mostly the night sweats that I started. And then I noticed my moods were very irritable. Like I was easily triggered, whereas before I felt like I was a pretty calm individual, and I just found myself very easily affected and very easily to get upset. And I found myself kind of in a shame cycle a lot of times when like I would lose my temper with one of my children or with my husband. And then I would, and I'd be like, and I'd go back, kind of intro into myself and like, why did I do that? And then I'd feel so bad about it. And of course I'd go apologize. But at the same time, I had no idea why I was just so like, blah. And it was
How long did it take you to make that connection? Because I know that
years.
if it was 7 years ago, nobody was talking about this 7
Nobody
years
was talking about it, and I just felt like the more I would do it, the more I felt bad about it, and I developed this internal, like, shame cycle within my own head, like, "Oh my gosh, why?" And that I'd feel terrible, and of course, I'd always make a point to apologize, whether it was my kid or my husband, but I couldn't stop it, which was the most infuriating thing. And I would do my breath work and I would do my yoga and I would do my walking. And then I tried giving up caffeine and because I thought caffeine was the problem. And like gave up alcohol. I tried everything when it came to like food and self care. And I was trying to solve the problem, but it literally didn't solve. Like I felt like I struggled with that for a long, long time. And it wasn't until so I struggled with that for the first couple of years, and at the time, I had no idea. I thought it
were
was
those
just
kind of those first symptoms
those were the
before the
first couple
night
of years.
sweats,
Yeah, those were
and
they were the night sweats, and that was just kind of interlapping, and
mhm,
so I just felt like I was becoming a not very nice person, and I was not liking myself very much, which, of course, then comes into anxiety and depression.
right.
And then what really scared me was I wanna say about 4 years ago, about 4 and a half years ago, and again, at that time, menopause wasn't really being talked about. I started having heart palpitations, multiple heart palpitations through the day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, what is going on?" And I'd get my blood pressure checked and everything looked good, and then one day, I literally thought I was having a heart attack. I remember myself clear as day, I was in the kitchen, my heart was racing, I felt like I had a giant, like, weight on my chest, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, here it comes. I'm gonna die," and I felt like the thoughts about, like, "What about my kids? What about my husband? What about my and, like, all these thoughts are racing through my head, and I'm bracing myself on the counter and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get to the emergency room." And so, it was, like, kinda ebbing and flowing, and so when it started so I called my doctor, she said, "Come to the emergency room," and so I got there, and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm doing my breathing, my breath work, and I'm doing waiting to get in to see the doctor to get the EKG. And I'm like doing my breath work, they left me sitting there for like 45 minutes. So I'm literally doing nonstop breath work. And by the time I got in there, it had dissipated. And so they stick the electrodes on me doing the EKG and they're like, this looks fine. I think you're fine. I think maybe you were having a panic attack. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Something else that happens to make you feel less than
Yeah. And so then I was
and
like,
crazy.
yeah. And then I felt crazy. I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. What is going on? So then, of course, I'm looking at my caffeine intake. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at my stress level. And then it started happening more regularly, not as severe, but more regularly.
Mhm.
And it wasn't happening just during the day. It would happen when I was laying in bed at night trying to go to sleep. And I'd be laying there and my heart was racing. And talk about fear. Like I was so overwhelmed with fear because not only did I not know what was going on with my body, I thought I could possibly die, but my doctor didn't give me any help at all. And so she referred me to a cardiologist and they did their tests and they stuck a heart monitor on me for 30 days and trying to figure out like, okay, we're not catching it on the EKG. Maybe it's off time. Maybe we can catch something, in irregularity or something on an off time when we're
Mhm.
not having her hooked up. And so I wore this thing for 30 days and still nothing. Still nothing. They said, you're fine. It must be in your head. Like, and so then I felt more crazy.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know anybody out there if you have gone through this, but it literally makes you feel insane when you feel like there is definitely something going on and
And it's real.
nobody can tell
No,
you
it's real.
what it is or what's going on.
Ask, had you missed any of your periods yet at this
They
point?
were irregular, but I've always had irregular periods. So
Okay.
that
So
is
that wasn't a
something
red flag.
that wasn't a red flag for me.
Right.
And I think
There's nothing
that's
to connect the dots
there was
to
no
perimenopause.
connecting the dots and nobody, not one doctor had ever mentioned that I could possibly be perimenopausal. Not one ever.
Not your OB, not your
Nope,
cardiologist, not your
no,
primary, nobody.
nothing. And so I
Interesting.
went through this completely feeling like I just was going insane. And the mood at the time, the mood swings were getting more and more severe. And it wasn't until a couple years ago that it started being more known to talk about perimenopause and
Yeah.
menopause. And I started being like, oh my gosh, that makes total sense. I started like connecting the dots and then I started bringing it up to my doctor. Like, I think I need hormones. And she's like, no, no, sorry. You didn't go without a period for 12 months. I'm sorry. But I'm like, I'm not sleeping. And at this point, I wasn't sleeping at all. I couldn't go to sleep.
No, oh, you couldn't even fall asleep.
And if I took something to go to sleep, like an over the counter sleep medicine, I couldn't stay asleep. I'd wake up 2, 3, 4 times and I couldn't go back to sleep once I woken up. And so with the lack of sleep, hormones going crazy, I was literally a,
A
just
hot mess.
a hot mess. And I would go to
Yeah.
my doctor begging. Like, I'm like, then I had it in my head. I'm like, I know what's the problem. Like, I know I need hormones. Like, please. And she's like, I'm sorry. I can't give you anything. You have to go, no, you have to go 12 months without a period. I'm sorry.
Wow. And
And
how long ago was that your OB was telling you that? Or was it
that
your
was
OB or your primary?
that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
Yeah,
they
3
were
years. They
saying
were like,
no.
no way, Jose. And it wasn't until about
But
it.
you were saying you wanted them.
I was saying I wanted them. I'm like,
And the
it
OB.
connected the dots to myself. And I was
Uh-huh.
like,
You knew.
now I know what I need. But my doctor still hadn't connected the dots because she was like, nope, you don't need that. You're not ready for that yet. And so I
They could.
tried everything natural under the sun. And it wasn't until I went in for my physical last year, 1 year ago, that I went in and I'd given up asking because at this point I was like, she's never going to give me them. I just have to live this way. And I went in to get my physical and she said, and by the way, are you still having problems sleeping? I said, absolutely. I can't sleep for nothing. I'm like losing my mind. And she's like, I'm going to put you on hormones. And I was like, what? She's like, it's time for you to go on HRT. And I was like, am I hearing you correctly? Because I'm still having a period once in a while and I haven't gone 12 months like you said. And she's like, nope. All of a sudden,
All of a sudden,
the
she
new
found Warren.
research came out, ladies, that it is actually more beneficial for us to be on HRT before we hit menopause. So I have currently And I celebrate this now every day. I have been on HRT for going on 7.5 months now. Yeah, 7.5 months now. Because it took me a while to say yes because I was still like a little bit nervous. So yeah, about 7.5 months I have been on it. And it wasn't a cakewalk. Like, let me just tell you, it's not like one and done.
Before you talk about your
Yeah.
experience, can you talk a little bit about why you were still on the fence? Because you had already asked for it a couple of
Yeah.
times, and then here your doctor is
Saying
finally
yes.
listening and saying, "Yes, we can do it now. There's some new research that supports we can do this." Why were you still a little hesitant?
I was still hesitant because of that all that, that research that came out like 20 years ago with the Premarin and, they came out and, were saying, "Oh, it could cause cancer." And so
Cancer.
I had to like literally look at all the research myself again and then the new research that came out, which of course contradicts that and says it does not cause cancer. It's actually got many benefits. But, I literally had to play my own detective again, and because there was a lot of fear, I'm like, "I don't wanna feel worse."
Right.
Like, I don't wanna do something that's gonna make me feel even worse than I'm feeling now.
Yes.
But let me just tell you, then a week of being on it, it was like my brain fog lifted. I could sleep again. Like,
Mm,
I
that's
don't
pretty
think
fast.
my brain actually went to sleep for years. Like, I don't think I fully had deep sleep for years. And I don't know if anybody out there has experienced this, but it was such a light, like, if I did get to sleep, it never felt
Restore. Oh,
restorative. And so when I got on the estradiol and progesterone, like the progesterone not only lets you sleep well, it gives you dreams again. Like I'm dreaming again and it's like very restorative and it's like
and
night and day.
your memories are processing
Yes.
during sleep, and so
Yes.
now you're able to have memories again, which
Yes, and I
is
feel
so
like
crazy,
a
right?
completely different person now than I did before I took HRT. And let me just tell you, I've always eaten really well, very, very nutritious. I've always exercised. I've always done yoga. I've always done all the things that they tell you to do, but I was still before the HRT feeling horrific, horrific, and I couldn't sleep. And so for
And
me,
that adds to feeling horrific. It's
yeah,
not just the hormones. Now you're not getting all of the detox that happens in your
exactly.
brain and in all of your systems, and also the emotional processing
Yeah.
that happens while we're sleeping. We're constantly processing our emotions. And if there is anything traumatic that happens, like, it's important for us to be processing as we sleep. And if you're not doing that, that I would say is raising
Your
all of
cortisol levels
the
and
cortisol
yeah,
levels, and the mood swings are probably amplified because you haven't had that opportunity to process the emotional things that you're experiencing on a daily basis, whether it's due to crazy hormone plummet
yeah,
situations or other things that are just happening on the normal day to day. You know,
yeah,
emotional processing is really important, and if none of that's happening, it's
yeah,
just like this downward spiral, and it's like a snowball. It
yeah,
just keeps going and adding to the already, core reason why this is all a problem, which
all the
is the
hormones.
hormones. Yeah,
So I'm super grateful every time I pick up those hormones and then I can be on the hormones. I've had some adjustments, but I will say to anybody out there that is struggling with any symptom that doesn't make sense to you, I encourage you to find and continue to reach out and find somebody to listen because you're not crazy. This is one of the hardest times in women's lives and it needs to be talked about, not just by celebrities, but by us like real women
real people.
and telling your story so other women do not feel like they're alone. So if you're struggling with like heart palpitations like I was, or the mood swings, or you feel like you're going crazy or severely depressed, or, the other small thing that, I didn't talk about that really it did play a part in my self-esteem because I think
Totally.
something that happens when you're going through this, I don't know why, but all of a sudden it takes such effort to put yourself together. Like I was going out in sweats and bun on my hair, no make like I look like a bum. And for some
That's so
reason,
unlike you.
I felt like that was okay because it took more effort to put myself together and I had no desire to put myself together
No
until
energy.
no energy. And it was like, why would I waste my time like combing my hair and putting something nice on?
It's funny, I've been going through that.
Yeah.
I'd say for the past, like, 6 months,
Yeah.
I've been going through that cycle of
Because nobody
just a
talks
little
about
too
that.
much
It's
energy to
just,
grab that razor in the shower
yeah,
and
shave
shave my
the legs.
legs.
Yeah, you're like, why? Why should I do that? So
Yeah,
I do think, but I will tell you, since I've made it, whether I feel like it or not, a point to I have to put myself together. I do think even when your insides feel yucky, if you put yourself together on the outside, it does help make you feel a little bit better inside. I really do.
but you kind of had to have the support going of these hormones coming in to be able to
Well,
kind of get
bef-
to that place where you're like, "Okay,
yeah.
this is important. I need to do this," and have the
Well,
energy.
even before the hormones, I was more in the fake it till you make it feeling. Like I knew I had to do it. And so it wasn't working that great, but I was doing it because something in my head said I knew that was like one thing, like in addition to like walking and exercise and eating right, that was another thing. Like if you don't put yourself together, somebody said to me once, and this always stuck with me, if you're not putting yourself together to present yourself to the world, you're telling the world you don't respect yourself enough to do that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And so that really was the thing that got me to like over the hump of like, I don't feel like it anymore because I wanted to show the world like, no, I do respect myself, even though I don't feel good and in my head and in my body right now. I have to make an effort to put myself together because
So you
that is
started doing
important.
that for yourself before your
Before the
doctor offered
HRT.
you
Yeah,
the
before
opportunity
the
to go
HRT.
down
It
that.
was a struggle, and
Yeah,
it is a struggle, and that's something other women don't talk about either
yeah,
is
I
that,
don't
like,
think
I don't wanna put myself together, and
mhm.
so I started also embracing, like, color therapy, like, different colors of clothes and how they impact your moods, and really getting out of that black white situation,
You gave yourself something fun to focus
embracing,
on.
yeah, embracing colors,
Yeah,
embracing the colors that complement and like make you shine really do play a role in how we feel and how we present ourselves in the world. So,
and I also wanna add to this, both of us are stay-at-home moms. We don't have to put ourselves together to go out and face the business world
mm,
and our colleagues, so it makes it, I think, even that much harder to you're in this kind of rut emotionally. And I feel like if I had that motivation, like to put myself together to go face colleagues or, clients or whatever, that it probably would still be a struggle, but I would have done it.
yeah.
Whereas, like, here we are, it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do?
Well,
I'm going to be going to the grocery store and putting together a meal and doing some laundry and cleaning some bathrooms today.
yeah. Well,
Like, going to the grocery store to me was not much different than doing laundry at home, so it's like, "Oh, sweats, that works."
yeah, but you put yourself together when you meet with a client. And so we're primary, like our priority and our primary time period is spent with, taking care of our household, our husbands, our children. However, we're both certified health coaches. We meet with clients, which we do put ourselves together for our
Cool.
client meetings and for you out here
Mhm.
in the audience. And I'm also working as a yoga instructor. And so when are we, we like to prioritize, our family and our household. And I think it's good to put yourself together for your husband too.
Mhm.
A lot of times I feel like, and my husband has mentioned it to me before, like he's like, you dress up for your girlfriends more than you dress up for me. And it's true. I don't know what it is about us ladies, but I feel like when we go have a ladies' night, we want to like put our best outfit on, our makeup's done. But, it's just, we lose that desire
On the
always
day to day.
on the day to day.
Mhm.
And so I think the day to day, we need to kind of, bring our game up a little bit.
Right. Just like we were before this all started happening, you wouldn't have gone without putting on something decent to go to the grocery store, even though you were still, stay at home mom,
Yes.
or go to the
Yes.
school for drop off, or, baseball or whatever. Like,
Yes.
yeah, you might not wear the best outfit in the world to go on a walk while your son is at baseball, but
Yeah.
you're still going to wear something and be presentable and like, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel like the desire to even, do that lately has been my struggle for sure. And of course, the whole putting myself together for, just my husband, and that's
Mhm.
definitely, I can relate to that lately.
Yeah.
It's just been like
You're like, "Yeah, I'm married a
because,
long
and
time."
I think it's just because you're feeling so like about, yourself, because you feel crazy, you feel like you can't remember anything, you can't focus on things, and all these things just start adding up, and it takes a toll on your confidence
Oh,
too.
definitely.
And I've been noticing more and more of the things that you've been speaking about within the past like 6 months. I had a we'll maybe get into some more of my more recent experiences after you
Mhm.
finish talking about your experience with, because I know you've had some ups and downs while, you know, being on HRT. So let's finish
Yeah.
talking about that,
Yeah,
and
so
then
let me
I'll
just
come
briefly
back
tell
to
you
the rest of my.
about how it's not a one and done situation because I did assume that that was gonna be the case. Like, okay, you give me these things. Once I finally decided, okay, I'm gonna be on them, then it's gonna fix me, right? Well, that's actually not the truth. Like, I am at a point where I'm feeling amazing, but that's only because it's taken time. And again, you have to really be at a point in your life where you can be really reflective. And I think that's really important that we become our own best health detective because even your best doctor is not going to be able to figure out what's going on inside your head and your body. Like you need to be able to convey that. And so I really paid attention when I first got on I went on the lowest dose of estradiol. I did a transdermal patch and then the progesterone I did orally and I was feeling fine. But then I started having like stomach issues, like where my stomach was cramping and I was having like digestive problems and I was like, what the heck? And so
I
pain,
mean, I
I was
remember you
having
coming to me saying like, "I'm
severe
in
pain.
pain."
Like I was thinking I had a mass in my stomach. And so back to the whole like imagining bad things and feeling full of fear, I was back there again. And I'd been on this only a month and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the answer. What now? Like
Well, did you even relate it to that?
I knew because I don't take any other medications
Mhm.
that that was the only thing that changed for me. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, did this grow something in me?" Like I had such a severe stomach pain. I went to the urgent care and because of my age, they did a multitude of tests and
Which is
even
super costly.
very costly and checked everything out, did the ultrasound, and they couldn't find anything. And he was basically like, maybe you just need to go to the bathroom. I knew
You're like,
something
"No, there's
wasn't working
something
for me.
more."
And so I contacted my doctor and I said, something's wrong. Like maybe I'm not at the right dose or something. And she's like, well, you can't go off progesterone because, you're on estrogen. So you need one because you have a uterus. And I totally understood that. I was like, but can I try this a different way? I said, yeah, there's got to be a different way. And she's like, well, yes. Why don't we allow you can do it cyclically. So meaning like you can take progesterone and the times where your body normally would have a increase in progesterone. So it would be the 12 to 14 days and it would be, instead of every single night I would take it 12 to 14 days. And that really helped a lot. After about 2 months, my all my stomach stuff like dissipated, but in the meantime, I also added some digestive help. I had some extra fiber. I started adding more flax seeds ground flax seeds to my meal, a little psyllium husk. And I felt like, I think because what a lot of people don't talk about, which I had to learn on my own, my doctor didn't tell me this either, is that
Because they don't know.
because they don't know,
They don't know.
so just so
Also.
you know,
Mhm.
progesterone, when you take it, actually slows your stomach. So it
Your
slows your
motility.
motility. And so you're taking it at night. And if you have anything on your stomach at all, you're slowing it down. And that can create issues in your gut. And I didn't know that. And so it wasn't until I started having the extra fiber, I stopped I try my window to stop eating, not because I'm trying to intermittent fast, but because I'm trying not to counteract my progesterone. I have to stop eating by like 5:30. I no longer I try to actually have my last meal like at 4ish because I don't want to have any food on my stomach when I'm taking that progesterone because I know it's going to really slow down my motility. And I had to find that out on my own.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that.
Experimental, or did you just read
I started doing a deep
articles?
dive on both medicines because I wasn't taking any other medicines, so I knew that whatever was causing my problems at that time had
Was
to come
that?
from them. And so that's how I came to the stomach, the slowing of the stomach emptying and the slower motility because of progesterone, and kind of put two and two together of changing my eating window. And now I'm doing fine, but I had to increase my estrogen just a little bit to balance out the progesterone. And so now I'm at the right level. And so I'm telling you this because do not think if you get onto HRT that that's you're done. You have to constantly be monitoring what's happening in your body, what's happening with your digestion, what's happening in your moods, your all your symptoms. They have to constantly be monitoring. You can take notes on it. You can, if you remember these things, you can just take mental notes on, what's happening.
I wouldn't rely on that though.
Yes, but it is important for you out there if you're thinking about getting on HRT that you know that it's going to take time for your levels to get like figured out. And it's still not a I'm still not done because it is said that your hormones, your HRT needs to be modified, every so often. So something could happen within my body where in like 6 months I might need to alter something again. And so it's really important that you know that this is a constant changing method. This is not you take something and then you're done. You have to be constantly monitoring yourself and checking in with your healthcare professional at all times. And whether that's an OB or your primary or a hormone specialist, you should always be checking in with somebody to help monitor what's happening with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, that's important to know because I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm just gonna get on it, and then
It'll fix all my
it'll
problems.
fix all my problems, and it'll be perfectly right."
Yes.
And if you're with a good healthcare provider who's checking on some blood work
Yep. And
and
I
looking
and
into those areas before and during, then I
mhm.
think you're on the right track. But sometimes you need to know and you need to ask and advocate for yourself because I don't think that every healthcare provider understands. Some of them just go with, well, how are you feeling? What are your symptoms? And they are not quite sure because they're not trained
Yeah,
in
and that's what
this.
I don't think a lot of people
Yeah.
realize is these doctors have had very, very, very minimal, if any, experience in learning about menopause. OBs actually only have 2 weeks that they
Hmm.
spend in training as an OB talking about and learning about menopause. And so most healthcare professionals know very little. And so it is so important that you are doing your own research, that you are listening to your body and what's happening with you because it's a lot of new waters for everybody. Everybody, healthcare professionals, us ladies, like everybody. We all have to play a health detective.
Yeah. And if you are asking the right questions, then hopefully your healthcare provider is able to answer them. If they're not, then I would highly suggest finding someone who is dialed in. And that's what I needed to do because my OB, I felt like just kind of very dismissive. Like, oh,
Mhm.
we'll run your normal yearly annual hormone panels and we'll see where you're at. And basically, when my hormone panels came back saying, like, yeah, this is happening, that's what she said. Yeah, you're in perimenopause. That was about it. She had nothing to say about HRT. I didn't ask because I wasn't interested in it because I kind of have this mindset and I don't know, are you in a place where you feel good and I can talk a little bit about like where I was when I first got my blood work back and what I've gone through since then?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And
Yeah, no, 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 I'm so
yeah.
good. The
Okay.
one thing I did wanna mention that
Anything
I
else to
didn't
close with?
mention
Yeah.
is that I was offered at antidepressants multiple times.
Interesting.
Multiple doctors, multiple times kept telling me that I needed to get on medication, that, that was the only way I can control my anxiety and my mood swings, and that I would be tolerable to live with anymore. And I will tell you, ladies, if this is
Uh,
happening to you, I think it's ridiculous, and it's actually, I
Laughable.
think, laughable and gross that these
Mhm.
healthcare professionals are pushing this on ladies that do not need it. They are just going through this change of life. They do not need this medication.
It's
And
completely
some,
different. It's like you're treating something that's not the cause at all.
yes, and that's not the case if you
So
are struggling. So if you are struggling, yes, please seek those medications out.
right.
But if it's just this menopause that is just overwhelming you, there are ways to get through it without having to go on these medications that are really hard to get off.
And there are some of you out there who may be on those medications because the doctors told you you needed to
Yeah.
be on them. And if you are, and you're thinking now, oh, it's probably just my hormones, then yeah, that's definitely something,
To
a
talk to
path.
your doctor about.
Yeah, a path to take right now is to find that healthcare professional who can dial in on your hormones. I started working with someone who she's actually a very close friend of mine, and I started a conversation with her about something else I was a little stressed about, some blood work that had come back over the summer when my shoulder, actually my right shoulder, was in massive pain, and I had this a lot of blood work done, and I was kind of stressed about some of the results. So of course, I reached out to my friend who is a she's
Naturopath.
she's a functional medicine doctor, a little bit different than a naturopath, and she's traditionally trained in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, oriental medicine, and all the things. And she's got so many things going on. I know I'm not giving her justice, and we will have her on, I think, as a guest because she's brilliant and she has so much to say. This is her wheelhouse. And I didn't actually know that. I thought she was mostly working with women on fertility,
Mhm.
natural fertility. I had worked with her while I was pregnant and I received acupuncture, but I didn't know that she actually was really dialed into this time of life, menopause,
Mhm.
perimenopause, and was helping people with that. And so when I was telling her how stressed I was about this A1C, which is something that came back a little bit high on some labs. It's like zero point 0.1 over what it should be. So it came in high, which to me is indicating prediabetes. To me, that's just really, it was very distressful to see that. So I immediately reached out to her and was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
I can't believe this is, I'm eating right. I'm not overweight. I exercise. I do all the things. And she was like, it could be your hormones.
Um,
How old are you? You're at that time of life." And I was like, "Really? That can have an impact on my blood sugar?"
isn't that a relief to
Absolutely.
actually have a doctor not tell you you're crazy
Yes.
and to, like, dismiss what you're
Yeah,
feeling?
because 'cause I'm sure that if I would have gone back to my male
Yeah.
doctor, who's my primary, who gave me all these blood panels when I had this shoulder pain, he would have probably been like his response was, "Oh, this is high, let's test it in 6 months."
Yeah.
Or 3 months, I don't know. His response was really just, "Let's look at it again in a few months." It was pretty dismissive.
Yeah.
And here's me just very beside myself to see this and, all of the time and energy that I take to be doing all the things for my health and then to have this come back. It was really nice to talk to someone who I inadvertently I didn't know that she would, I think I just wanted to like bounce it off of her and have her maybe just calm me down, be like, yeah, just go back in 6 months. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
But actually she was able to relate it to this time in life that I'm in. And I was like, wow, I didn't even understand that that was a connection at all with
Yeah.
our glucose and our insulin and all the things. So I did a lot of research and she really highly suggested that I get on HRT. And at the time I was very much, that's just my nature is to be very holistic. And I know you too.
Yeah.
And I know that before you even ever thought about it and asked your doctor, you
Oh,
probably did so much
oh my
research.
gosh, so much research.
Yeah, and came to that conclusion, but I wasn't there yet. I was not
I
there
think
yet.
it takes a while to get there. I
It
really do. It took me
Yeah,
years to get there.
right.
And it takes a lot of suffering
And
too.
I thought I had more time to get there, But then this thing happened where I woke up one more night in the middle of the night and my shoulder was hurting so bad I could not go back to sleep and I could not do anything to make it better. I mean, I tried so many different things, and I went through all this, and thank God it was only 2 weeks, but it was like the worst 2 weeks ever with this
Yeah, you were in a lot of
massive
pain.
pain. And I think that that's when I started realizing that, this is a hormonal imbalance thing. And how am I going to address this? Food, that's always my answer, like supplements, food, exercise, and lowering my cortisol levels. But when I started talking to my good friend, Dr. Gina, she was saying, all those things are great. All those things are really amazing. And I'm sure it's helping you, but the hormones are the thing that you really need to add in because that's what's supporting all of these things.
Yeah.
Your cortisol levels, your insulin, your glucose, all of the things are supported by these hormones that are in decline. And in addition to so many other things that it's estrogen is protective of, which, we can go into on another episode, but it just really kind of brought me to the point where I realized I needed to figure this out. And so I did all the research, just like I'm sure you did. Do I go natural? Do I go, pharmaceutical? Do I do it with, do I keep trying to figure this out with supplements? And, she really was able to keep me on that like path. Like,
Yeah.
you can't supplement your way out of this, can't eat your
Yeah.
way out of this. You could do natural creams that somebody's making with the
And I
same
did try those.
things,
I did the sweet yam
and
creams.
it did help. I tried that, like, the
I
first
don't
time I
know if
had
it
hot
was a
flashes.
placebo effect or if I just really wanted it to help or if
Yeah.
it really helped. Like, I still don't know. I mean, and I paid like what, $80 a jar for that stuff.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I was
It was very
using one
expensive.
that was 25.
Yeah, I used a very expensive one.
Yeah,
But the good news is Jess is just about to start
that's
HRT.
the good
She has
news
the
is
prescriptions.
after all
So
this.
we will give an update and see your progression and
Mhm.
how you like progress as you start. And she's actually starting. And that's the other interesting thing
Haven't
is
started yet, and I'll tell you why.
she is going to be starting at a higher level than I am
Mhm.
based on what her doctors decided that is best for her. And so that's an also interesting thing. Like, even though, like, you're both just starting out, sometimes, if you're working with somebody, especially a functional medicine doctor, they have certain tests that they can do to kind of navigate differently. And so it'll be interesting. I will be interested to see how you start off on, this higher dose to see how your body reacts. And we're going to kind of track it and
Mhm.
figure it out and tell all you guys about how, she's doing on HRT and what her experience is for sleep, for mood, for anxiety, for joint pain, and all that and how that helps you you know,
Yeah, just
how
what
you ended up walking through it.
yeah,
So I think
totally.
that'll be another episode, which I think we'll try to do in
Be
a couple
happy to share
weeks once you get
because
on it, because I think that'll be a really good one because you're just starting the baby steps of being on it. And it'll be good to share with those that are just kind of wanting to dip their toe in it, but maybe a
yeah.
little scared to try it.
Yeah, I think I'm still in that little bit of scared to try it. I'm
Yeah.
still there, but I have them. They're in my drawer. They're ready to roll.
Yeah, they're ready to
They are
roll.
ready to roll. And it's been such this process for me. I've been talking to her since, gosh, I don't know when we reconnected. I feel like it's probably back in late August or maybe early September. So this conversation and my time to get my head around it and process it all and do more research, even after listening to this person that I highly, highly revere and trust, I still have these
Of
reservations.
course, because it's your body and
It's my body
it's still a
and
fear.
it's kind of a forever commitment.
Yeah.
Like
So
once
it's
you give up,
understandable that it is a fearful thing to just jump on. And
yeah,
so you shouldn't take it lightly. It definitely should be getting some time to really investigate and research and really figure out if this is a right choice for you. But we're going to not only talk about your experience going forward as you start this, but we're going to get in more detail on the different symptoms and how you can help them naturally and how you can the day-to-day lifestyle choices that are also going into helping us and help, and that we think would help you. And so in future episodes, we're going to get into that. But today we really just wanted to talk briefly about our experiences and, start from there. And then we're going to have many videos talking about menopause because this
So
is
many different
hours and hours of,
subtopics.
yeah, so,
So
so good
many.
stuff. So,
But yes, I'm definitely excited to get started. We'll be back soon with some
yeah.
updates on that. And yeah, I'm excited to not be biting people's heads off anymore.
Right. But in the meantime, if you guys have questions for us regarding menopause or perimenopause, just, shoot us a comment in the show notes, or, just reach out to us. We'll have our information on how to get in touch with us in the show notes for you to take a look at. And then until next time, thank you
Yeah,
so much for listening.
to your hormones.
Yes. Here's to your hormones. I hope you feel great and have a blessed day.